For 73 long years, the most famous shipwreck in history was just a ghost. I mean, it sent out its final position, right? And then it just vanished into the deep. So the big question is, how on earth, after 7 whole decades of looking, did we finally find the Titanic?
All right, let's set the scene. The date is September 1st, 1985. It's the middle of the night, and we're on the research vessel Knorr, way out in the middle of nowhere, hundreds of miles off the coast of Newfoundland. And deep, deep below us, we're talking 2.5 miles down, a little robotic sub is just methodically scanning the pitch-black ocean floor.
And for days on end, the crew has been glued to this video monitor showing, well, absolutely nothing. Just sand. An endless, silent, monotonous stream of sand. You can just imagine the frustration, right? It was basically a repeat of the last 73 years of coming up empty.
But then, just before 1 in the morning, something flickers on the screen. And it's not a rock. No, this is different. It's angular, it's twisted, it's clearly man-made. It's something that has no business being down here in this alien landscape. And just like that, the entire mood in the control room just shifts. And then, a few moments later, this huge round shape just fills the monitor. And there's no doubt at all, it's one of the Titanic's massive boilers. After 73 years of absolute silence, human eyes were looking at the lost ship once again. The ghost had been found.
So this is the big question, right? It's the central mystery of the whole thing. The ship's radio operators sent out their exact coordinates. So why in the world did it take more than 70 years for anyone to find it? Well, for starters, you have to understand just how insane the deep ocean is. The wreck is sitting under 6,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's like having 3 big pickup trucks stacked on top of a postage stamp. It is a place that is genuinely more hostile to us than the surface of the moon.
And if that wasn't hard enough, the search area itself was just a total nightmare. Turns out, the distress coordinates they sent out were a little bit off, so explorers had to search this massive 150 square mile patch of the ocean floor. Now try to imagine doing that in complete, total darkness while trying to navigate around underwater mountains, and you're fighting these powerful currents that could have dragged the ship for miles as it sank. It was an impossible task.
And you know, the history of trying to find this thing is just littered with failures. I mean, some of the early ideas were just wild. People seriously proposed using giant balloons or huge electromagnets. Then in the 50s, one expedition just started dropping dynamite hoping to hear an echo. Yeah, that didn't work. And even as late as 1977, a super high-tech mission ended when their multi-million-dollar drill pipe just snapped and sank to the bottom. It was just one failure after another.
So by the time the 1980s rolled around, it was pretty clear that finding the Titanic was going to take something special. You needed a ton of money, you needed brand new technology, and you needed this almost obsessive single-minded focus. And that's where our story really gets interesting, because it sets the stage for a race between 2 very, very different men.
The hunter and the scientist. You couldn't have picked 2 more different guys for this. On one side, you've got this flashy Texas oil tycoon. And on the other, a quiet, methodical marine geologist. Their whole approach to this thing was just night and day.
So meet Jack Grimm. He's this eccentric Texas oil tycoon, the kind of guy who funded searches for, and I'm not kidding, Bigfoot and Noah's Ark. He was a total showman. He had book and film deals lined up before he even left the dock. And then you have Dr. Robert Ballard. He's the complete opposite, a highly respected scientist from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, totally focused on the science and developing new imaging tech.
And if you want a perfect example of how different these two were, just listen to this. On one of his expeditions, Jack Grimm brings a monkey on board, a monkey named Titan. And he tells his team of scientists that this monkey has been trained to point to where the Titanic is on a map. The scientists basically said it's us or the monkey, so Grimm, probably not very happily, had to leave poor Titan on the shore.
But here's the craziest part of Grimm's story. It's this incredible, tragic irony. We now know that back in 1980, his ship sailed directly over the Titanic wreck. He was right on top of it, but his sonar gear just wasn't good enough to see it. He was so close and saw absolutely nothing.
A secret in the cold. So while Grimm is out there with his monkey and his movie deals, Ballard has the opposite problem. He's got the brains, he's got the science, but he doesn't have the cash. But the answer to his money problem was about to come from a very, very powerful place.
and it was a total secret.
See, Ballard went to the U.S. Navy looking for funding. Now, this was the height of the Cold War. The Navy couldn't have cared less about some old shipwreck. But what they did care about, very, very much, was finding the wrecks of two of their lost nuclear submarines, the USS Thresher and the USS Scorpion. And they needed to do it without the Soviets figuring out what they were up to. So they cooked up this top-secret deal. Here's how it worked. The Navy would pay for Ballard's brand new robotic submersible, the Argo. Step 1. In return, Ballard had to use Argo to secretly find and survey their lost nuclear subs. Step 2. And then, Step 3, if he had any time left over after that, he could use it to look for the Titanic. That was just the cover story.
So while Ballard is down there studying these submarine wrecks for the Navy, he has this total aha moment. He realizes that when they imploded and sank, they didn't just go straight down. They left this long trail of lighter debris, kind of like a comet's tail, stretching for miles. And that just changed the entire game. He thought, why am I looking for the ship, the needle in the haystack? I should be looking for the debris field, the haystack itself. It was a way bigger and much easier target.
So, his secret mission for the Navy? It's a success. He finds the subs. But now he can finally turn his attention to the Titanic. The only problem? He only has 12 days of funding left. That's it. So with the clock seriously ticking, he puts his new debris field theory to the test. And get this, he found the first piece of the wreck in just 8 days. What the wreck revealed. You see, finding the ship wasn't the end of the story. In a lot of ways, it was just the beginning. Because now, for the first time, investigators could finally start answering questions that people had been arguing about for over 70 years. It completely rewrote what we thought we knew about how the ship sank. Okay, so probably the single biggest bombshell was that the ship was in 2 giant pieces, almost half a mile apart. For decades, the official story, pushed by the most senior officer who survived, was that the ship sank in 1 piece. But the wreck proved he was wrong. It proved that dozens of other survivors, people who were dismissed and ignored for decades, had been telling the truth all along when they said they saw it break in 2.
The wreck also helped us finally understand the fatal design flaw. So the iceberg rips open 5 of the 16 watertight compartments. Now here's the problem. The ship was designed to stay afloat with 4 compartments flooded, but 5? That was the tipping point. As the bow started to sink, water just started spilling over the tops of the walls between compartments, just like when you overfill an ice cube tray. One filled up, then spilled into the next, and the next, sealing the ship's fate.
And this brings us to what might be the single biggest, most tragic what if in the entire story. What if, instead of desperately trying to steer around that iceberg, the crew had just hit it head-on?
It sounds crazy, right? But modern analysis shows that a direct head-on collision, while it would have been absolutely horrific, it would have just crumpled the bow and people up front would have died. It probably would have only flooded 2, maybe 3 compartments. The ship would have survived. It was their heroic split-second decision to try and avoid it that caused the long, glancing blow along the side of the ship, and that was fatal.
So you see, finding the Titanic didn't really end the story at all. It just started a brand new chapter. And it's a chapter that we're still writing today. One that leaves us all with a really tough question. What do we do with it now? Is it a historical site, something to be explored and preserved? Or is it a graveyard, a final resting place that should be left completely in peace?